Hello, I am the Irish guy, and what was that? Newcastle 4, Paris Saint-Germain 1. Am I dreaming? Are you dreaming? Are we all dreaming? Are we all living in some sort of fake dystopian universe where there are no rules? Am I gonna finish my bowl of Frosties, walk outside and see someone's flying granddad taking a bite out of a cloud? Am I gonna see a talking panda bear buying sandwiches at Marks and Spencer's? Because this doesn't make any sense. This is the greatest result Newcastle have had in the 21st century. It just is. I'm gonna say this is hands down the quickest turnaround of a football team in Premier League history. I know Leicester went from almost certain relegation to Premier League champions inside 12 months, but that wasn't sustainable. That was just one season of footballers playing out of their skin before, then morphing into a bunch of burnt out sludge puppets who nearly went down. But Newcastle United, go back to that hideous 2021 season when managed by Steve Bruce, someone who, yes, looks like a Mrs. Doubtfire, spent 6 months eating lunch at Becky D's. He was in charge of a run of 9 winless Premier League games in a row, picking up 2 points from a possible 27. This is a team who were shipping 5 at Leeds. I mean, the start of the next season was even worse. This team failed to win any of their first 14 matches. Even with Eddie Howe at the wheel, people had this club being written off as already relegated in mid-January. They had won 1 of the first 22 Premier League games. That's Derby County levels of form. In January 2022, literally last year, Newcastle were dumped out of the FA Cup third round by Cambridge. They were second bottom of the league, and Kieran Trippier, to most football fans, looked like an absolute spinach donut for swapping Atletico Madrid for this. It looked about as bad a decision as a frail old grandmother asking Micah Richards for a hug. Yeah, you're probably gonna have your spine crushed like a Twix. Under Steve Bruce, Newcastle's fitness levels were appalling. They're about as fit as Mike Tyson after 2 decades of eating fish fingers and ice cream on the couch. When Eddie Howe took the job, I will be honest, I thought it was anticlimactic. That Newcastle takeover changed everything. Absolutely everything. As soon as word filtered in that it was done, the press got carried away. Suddenly, Zinedine Zidane and Antonio Conte were linked with Bruce's job. Crazy motherfucker. Can you imagine a world champion and global icon like Zizou agreeing to work in an office which must stink of Bruce's armpit sweat? Yeah, you'd probably have to burn Bruce's chair in a fire just to make the room appropriate for Zidane. Jose Mourinho was briefly linked with the job. Unai Emery was approached and turned it down, so to wind up with the fellow being relegated with Bournemouth, who'd had talks fall apart with Celtic. It was all a bit meh. But I'm sorry, imagine telling someone that 2 years later, he would be masterminding a 4-1 win over PSG. It's bonkers. It's insane. Eddie Howe is without a doubt the greatest English manager in the world by a massive mile. Nobody is even close. Graham Potter is not even fit to lick mud off his shoe. Will Still should be honoured if he was asked to make him his tea. I'm gonna say this. We could be looking at the future Sir Bobby Robson. Since 2004, he has pulled off the 2 greatest miracles an English manager has done since Brian Clough. Howe has pulled off not 1 miracle but 2, taking Bournemouth from minus 17 points in League 2 into the Premier League and keeping them there for 8 years. And now this, 2 miracles. He is a world-class manager. He absolutely is. He is gold. He deserves the biggest and best jobs in the world. I think he would cook at Barcelona. Yes, some scruffy ex-Portsmouth centre half who still looks like a little boy who wears X-Men pajamas to bed. This is the guy Man United or Chelsea should have appointed during his mini hiatus 2 years ago. I mean, when he was turning down an offer to become Peterborough manager in 2009, who thought he'd be having Champions League nights at Newcastle, who they themselves were in the championship that year? It's just mental. It's so special. He spent money, yes, but not insane, extravagant money. He just smashed PSG with a back 4 of Trippier, yeah, but Jamal Lascelles, Fabian Schär, and Dan Burn. Lads, Schär was frozen out of the team by Bruce. Bear in mind, this is a manager who used to pick the likes of Paul McShane and his own son as centre-backs in the Premier League. So to turn his nose up at Schär in favour of Kieran Clark, he had a ball-playing Swiss superstar at his disposal, and yet he still chose to stick Isaac Hayden into a back 5 instead. I mean, what? Did his wife fancy Schär? Is he that insecure that's why he dropped him from the team? It's decisions like this which make me think, is Bruce all there? If I pop out to Whitley Bay, am I going to see him licking lampposts and trying to chat up the local wheelie bin? I mean, was that a cry for help? Lads, when Newcastle in February 2020 were playing out a bleak 0-0 in the cold and wet St James's Park against Norwich, where the league's whipping boys had nearly 60% possession, nights like that made this look impossible. This is like me telling you that on October 2025, Everton 4, Barcelona 1. That is how unbelievable this is. PSG. Actual PSG. The last time Newcastle played a team from France was against Bordeaux in 2012. Yeah. This was the state of the Newcastle team. A strike force of Nile Ranger and 2 Amiobis. A midfield 3 of Silva Marveau, Mehdi Abeid, and Biggie Ramana. Shane Ferguson at left back. A centre-back duo of Mike Williamson and James Perch, with Rob Elliott in goal. After that game, the players on that pitch went on to represent the likes of Notts County, Rotherham, Boreham Wood, Charlotte Independence, Solihull Moors, Ilkeston Town, Corfacan, Alaroba FC, Gateshead. Biggie Ramana now plays for Dungannon Swifts in County Tyrone. I mean, that starting 11 on that European night makes the current one look like a FIFA dream team. Lads, 4 years ago, I did a video on a channel which must not be named. Yeah, I'll see you at the Football Content Awards. But lads, I did a video in July 2019 predicting one player for every Premier League club who would play 0 minutes of football all season long. Yeah, 0. None. Yeah, for Brighton, I picked Dan Burn. In my defense, this is a human Frankenstein who was working in Asda at 20 years of age. He was released by Fulham at 25. Yeah, when he was thrown away like a useless crisp packet at Craven Cottage in the Championship. Do you think any Fulham coach thought that he'd one day be scoring in the Champions League? Even seeing the PSG Twitter admin having to write Burn's name on their page, it looks weird. It looks a bit like if Jamie Foxx were to tweet about me. I can't get my head around any of this. But yeah, I mean, he then played the full 90 minutes in the opening day of the season for Brighton, spawning this tweet.
I now hate Dan Burn.
Yeah, he then kept his spot in Graham Potter's team all season long. I said 0 minutes. He played nearly 3,000. Imagine how this man must be feeling right now. He's just towered above the entire PSG defense to score past Gianluigi Donnarumma. Is this real life? This is just some massive bloke with 4 fingers on one of his hands. Honestly, he does. Look it up. Here he was scoring on a European night on a Wednesday. He looks like he makes Wednesday her breakfast. That's a clever little joke. He looks a bit like a Halloween costume, but make no mistake about it. He is a Geordie legend and probably deserves an England debut, as is Sean Longstaff. 2 years ago, his career at Newcastle looked done. Even before the takeover, in 2019, the club had noted Manchester United stiffing about and then charged them a mental £50 million, which is a bit like advertising a half-eaten burger on the internet for 200 quid. Yeah, it's gonna scare everyone off, but by 2021, he was being offered to Southampton and Everton for just £10 million. And you know what? The chance to link up again with Rafa Benitez was probably tempting for him. Bruce was showing him such little respect. He was trying to replace him with Hamza Tadori. You know, that Leicester midfield misfit who literally broke Matt Ritchie's leg? Yeah, replacing a likable homegrown Geordie boy with a thug who practically finished Richie's career. Oh, well done, Steve. You sure know what the fans want. Longstaff has said it himself. Under Bruce, he was miserable. He was literally crying in a coffee shop in front of his dad and his little bro. Yeah, since then, he scored 2 goals in the League Cup semi-final for his boyhood club, qualified for the Champions League, and now scored in it versus PSG. To be fair, it was a weak shot and Donnarumma was made to look like he's got the reflexes of a dead monkey. But let's go back to February 2018. An inconsequential pudding game of football in League One. Blackpool grinding out a 2-0 win at Wigan. Both Byrne and Longstaff were on the pitch. Yeah, tell anybody in attendance that day that these 2 average milk cartons will be scoring together against PSG in the Champions League. The whole thing makes 0 sense. Although early, Wigan's right back that day was Reece James. So somehow, half of Wigan's defense were future Champions League quality. One of them went on to win the whole thing. And you know what? I wouldn't rule out Dan Burn. Honestly, Newcastle can beat anyone. This is bonkers. Lads, the atmosphere in St. James's Park last night was incredible. When that Champions League anthem sounded out of that ground, wow, like, wow. That was something else. This was a famous night, a historical one of the greatest in Newcastle's entire history. I thought these sort of nights were now just a myth reserved for the past. That's Mickey Almiron is a guy who was a record signing from Atalanta in the MLS and arrived with less end product than that of a decapitated snail. He had to wait 27 Premier League games to actually score a goal. He arrived in January 2019. Didn't score until 4 days before Christmas. What Eddie Howe has done with him, it's mental. He's now effortlessly side-footing in the opening goal against PSG. He's now scored nearly 30 goals for the club. It was only 2 seasons ago he finished the 21-2022 season with just 1 goal in 32 matches. Do you know how easy it would have been for Howe to get rid? The turnaround since Jack Grealish mugged him off. It's stunning. I still can't believe this game actually happened. Just, what? I'm broken. Newcastle have their club back. Seeing the crowd drinking in a European atmosphere last night, it should ram home even more how criminal it was. How Mike Ashley was allowed to spend 15 years sucking out all their hope, optimism, and passion for the sport. Lads, for years, Newcastle fans were so desperate for a takeover. I remember that month they were begging Floyd Mayweather to put in an offer. Yeah, he'd probably turn the stadium into a seedy strip club, but Still, 4 years ago, Newcastle began the season at home to Arsenal. It was raining, and things had become so desperate after seeing Benitez walk in the summer. It was a summer where Allardyce actually tried to give Sam Allardyce back his job. You know, the guy who was sacked in 2008, the guy who was Sunderland manager, relegated Newcastle. I mean, wow, it was grim. So the fans tried to stage a boycott, sort of. I mean, it was never going to work. Trying to convince the Geordies to stay away from their footballing church. Just no. St. James's Park is like a magnet for them. You had better luck convincing DiCaprio to date women his own age. People talk about rock bottom moments at Newcastle. And yes, those 2 relegations were hideous. But to me, the sight of 4,000 fans protesting outside the ground, being a national laughingstock for just shouting outside Sports Direct, it was desperation. And futile. Ashley never cared about the protests. It was a bit like being trapped in your uncle's basement. And so you protest by cutting off a chunk of your own hair with a spoon? He's not gonna care. He's upstairs watching Home and Away and sticking your nephew in a pie. It was a 1-0 defeat, by the way, with marquee arrival Joden shoved up front, pretending to be a beefcake centre forward. Bruce was trying to make him the next Adriano. He's a box-to-box midfielder. Back when Bruce was highly rated, imagine if he was given the Liverpool job in 2004. Imagine if he got his paws on a talent like Steven Gerrard. He'd probably try to make him the next Heskey. But to see the bickering, infighting amongst the fans, things were so bad that if Newcastle fans were actually seen wearing a new shirt bought from the club shop, people would look at them as if they just admitted to joining puppies in a pond. How crazy is that? 47,000 people turned up to that Arsenal match, by the way. So it was a failed, botched protest with just a handful of desperate nuggets watching the game on their phone and Costa Coffee. It did nothing. But look at Newcastle now, starving these fans of magical nights like this. I find that reprehensible. How can Ashley get away with that? He kept this club as a prisoner in his sweaty pocket for 15 years. They were a legal prisoner, rotting away next to his car keys and sausage roll crumbs. He was whining in the media that he couldn't spend as much as Man City. They weren't asking for that, Mike. But you were being regularly outspent by Huddersfield Town. That was why people were worrying. Lads, I'm just going to reel off a few results that happened at this stadium on Ashley's watch, okay? Here are the clubs who won at St. James's Park while Mike was in charge. Man City 10 times, Arsenal 9 times, Man United 7 times, Tottenham 6 times, Liverpool 5 times, Chelsea 5 times, Everton 5 times, Blackburn 4 times, Hull City 3 times, West Ham 3 times, Sunderland 3 times, Swansea 3 times, Leicester 3 times, Fulham twice, West Brom twice, Sheffield Wednesday twice, Wolves twice, Portsmouth, Blackpool, Stoke, Reading, Cardiff, Southampton, Watford, Bournemouth, Huddersfield, Brighton. I could go on and on. It's horrible. They were a northern punching bag for years. There was no point in Newcastle United. Nothing other than just a tool to sell cheap shoes and yeah. I mean, you know that annoying TV advert with all those players walking out to play football, shouting, "Protect this house! Protect this house!" Yeah, never mind protecting their house. This is just Newcastle leaving their front doors unlocked, just letting anyone walk in and take what they wanted. I mean, Jose Enrique, a former Newcastle left back, once said Newcastle would never again compete to finish in the top 6 while Ashley was in charge. I mean, Kevin Keegan was so depressed when he briefly returned to Newcastle and saw Ashley's withered piggy bank. He just told everyone straight up that he could not compete. Lads, within 2 years of Ashley quitting this club, this ugly sloth being expelled like a poisonous rat, Newcastle are doing this in the Champions League. Yeah. You want to stick up for him now, Rio Ferdinand? This is the potential of Newcastle United. The fact they had to languish under Ashley's stranglehold for so many years. It's sad. It was such a miserable existence. And it was never going to stop. Back in 2021, just months before the takeover, apparently Bruce was going to be offered a 3-year extension. That Ashley was happy to keep him as long as he kept the club in the Premier League. Well, I mean, to be fair, they would have been relegated in the summer of 2022. Would have sold Alan Maximin, Mickey Almiron, Joe Willock, Callum Wilson. Would probably have chucked Joe Linton back to Germany on loan. And yeah, Bruce would have probably been replaced by Jonathan Woodgate. Newcastle were staring at a 3rd relegation on Ashley's watch. So to have nights like this is amazing. I can't fathom it. Honestly, it's like we're all living in a dream. Just, wow. Anyway, that's it. Let me know, what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Just let me know. Let me know. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give a like, subscribe as always. I'll talk to you in a while.